the vast majority of existing news organizations in the United States, at least, the answer has to be free because no one's going to pay for them.
You know, it's like you run a shop and you know, some things you give free, some things you give paid, and people say you could charge more for this. Well, the answer is, well, charge more for it. So if
I think that we're sort of moving in a direction that has two paid models that I find very interesting. One is the Wall Street Journal. Another is the Financial Times. It answers. The problem with that is both of those publications have a readership within the business community that is willing to pay good money for them. When you come to a general interest newspaper, that paid versus free debate becomes a little bit more difficult.
One of the most striking statistics I've seen in the last few months was a set of data looking at the average time on site spent by users of American newspaper websites. And it varied from newspaper to newspaper, but it was somewhere between 2 and 8 minutes per month. The highest ranking was the New York Times, which was 20 minutes per month per user. In contrast, the average for Facebook was 7 hours per month.
But I think a third factor that really hasn't been taken into account enough is the impact, the structural impact that social media is going to have. What has suddenly happened with social media is the ability of a company or a private individual to create an equivalent competitor to a major media organization. The barrier to entry is extremely low.
You're right that there's this entire world that you're seeing of innovation. You asked, though, how much of an impact it was going to have on news organizations, and I think that's going to be much more of an open question, because news organizations, A, are not, with a few large exceptions, not known for having great technical expertise, and B, have significant newsroom cultures that sometimes are not open to these sorts of changes. So I'd say between those two factors, it's going to be difficult to see those kinds of innovations really taking root in most news organizations. I think most of the innovation is still going to be outside.
Offensive play.
Yeah, and if you look at the people who are making the decisions, they tend to be within half a decade of retirement. They're not going to look for a revolution. They're looking for a stepping stone.
Niche, I think, maybe the word isn't niche, but focus. I think focus is where you bring value, because you're adding something every day to a continuing pool of knowledge that your journalists or journalists are creating. I think that, you know, when we, you know, the word newspaper, you know, everybody's gotten over the word paper. We've all gotten rid of the word paper. I think we should get rid of the word news.
Until you're able to create experiences that people want to just, you know, live in for a while, it's going to be really hard.
I think data visualization is going to be wildly important going ahead. I think that newsrooms that can absorb data and repurpose it will be providing tremendous value. The interesting thing about that is that they will be coming up against such entrenched and brilliant companies as Google, who are doing that sort of thing themselves.